The stars moved slowly outside the ship's window, like glowing dust in the darkness of space. Dale sat in the pilot's seat, sipping recycled coffee. Tired but focused, he was a solo space trucker, just doing another quick job. One cargo, one delivery, no questions asked. That's what the client had said when he gave him the crate. Do not open it, and you'll get triple pay, the man had whispered with cold eyes and a fake smile. Dale had taken the deal, because money was tight and fuel wasn't free. The crate was heavy, sealed tight with biometric locks, and it sat right in the cargo bay behind him. But something about this job felt off. Ever since he took off, strange things had been happening. The ship felt colder, and he heard soft bumps at night. At first, he thought it was just loose tools or old hull panels creaking. But then came the whispering. It wasn't in English, but it was real soft voices, scared voices, sometimes crying, sometimes just breathing hard. And last night, he had heard a sharp knock 3 times from inside the crate. Dale told himself to ignore it, just deliver it, get the money, and forget about it. But now he was sitting there, staring at the sealed crate. His hand hovered over the lock control. "Don't be stupid," he muttered. But his fingers moved anyway. The lock blinked red at first, but he used a bypass tool he had kept hidden for emergencies. A small click echoed in the silent cargo bay. The crate's lid hissed open slowly. Cold air and darkness spilled out. Then came the sound, a soft whimper, like a child hiding in fear. Dale stepped back, heart pounding, from the shadows inside. 3 small figures slowly crawled out. They weren't children, but they weren't fully grown either. Their skin was smooth, different shades of pale blue and green. Their eyes were large, glowing softly, and filled with fear. One of them, the tallest girl, looked right at him and spoke. Her voice was shaking, almost broken. "Please, don't hurt us." Dale couldn't speak. He just stared, shocked and frozen. The girls were dressed in thin, ragged clothes, barely covering them. One of them clutched something to her chest. It was a small furry creature, wounded and breathing. Slowly, Dale's eyes dropped to their ankles. Chains thin but strong had left red marks on their skin. They were slaves, transported like boxes, hidden like stolen goods. He stepped forward, slowly raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I didn't know," he said quietly. The tallest girl flinched but didn't run. "We were told the next ship would take us to the market," she whispered. Her voice cracked on the word market. Dale felt sick inside. He had unknowingly helped in something horrible. He should report it to authorities, he thought. But he also knew the client was powerful, and maybe the authorities were part of it. If he called anyone, those girls would vanish, or worse. One of the smaller girls tugged at his sleeve. She looked up with wide, tear-filled eyes. "Are you a good human?" she asked. Dale kneeled down slowly, unsure how to answer. "I'm trying to be," he finally said. He brought them blankets and water. They drank quickly but carefully, as if afraid it was a trick. The small animal made a soft sound, and Dale noticed its leg was bleeding. He gently wrapped it with a clean cloth, and the girl holding it gave a weak smile. "You're not like the others," she said, barely above a whisper. Dale didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man who had been too blind, too late. But now he had a choice: ignore them, or protect them. Suddenly, the ship's alarm beeped. A tracking signal had been activated. Someone was searching for the crate, someone who wanted it back. Dale's hands moved fast, turning off the beacon, but he knew it was too late. They were already on his trail. He turned back to the girls, who were now sitting close together, scared and silent. He sighed, grabbed the pilot controls, and changed course. If someone was coming, he needed to disappear, and fast. As the stars shifted outside once again, the tallest girl whispered, "Thank you for opening the box." Dale didn't answer, because he didn't know what he was getting into. All he knew was he couldn't go back now. The ship flew quietly through deep space, but Dale's mind was anything but calm. He kept checking the sensors, worried that someone might be chasing them. The tracking signal had been triggered. and now every second felt like it was ticking down to trouble. Behind him, the 3 alien girls sat wrapped in emergency blankets, huddled close, whispering to each other in a soft language he didn't understand. One of them, the youngest, kept glancing at him with wide eyes, like she couldn't decide whether to trust him or fear him. Dale had never been in a situation like this before. He moved cargo, not people, and definitely not living, breathing girls who had been chained like animals. He didn't know what to do with them, where to take them, or how to keep them safe. But one thing was clear: he couldn't return them to whoever locked them in that crate. As he adjusted the course, the oldest girl stepped forward, walking slowly, her feet still shaky from hours locked in that box. She stood beside him and looked at the screen, her glowing eyes full of caution. "We are being followed," she said, her voice calm but heavy. Dale looked at her, surprised by her strength. "How do you know that?" he asked. She closed her eyes for a moment and touched the wall of the ship with her fingertips. "There's a ship behind us," she whispered, "fast but hiding." Dale stared at the radar. Nothing showed up yet, but he believed her. There was something about the way she spoke, like she had done this before, like she was trained. He asked her name, and she hesitated before answering. "Lyra," she said quietly. The name fit her, soft but strong. She looked at the screen again, then at him. "They will not stop," she said. "We are valuable to them." Dale felt a cold weight in his stomach. "What do they want from you?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer right away. Instead, she glanced back at the 2 younger girls, who were now sleeping against each other on the floor. "Different things," she said finally, "but none of them good." The silence in the ship grew thick, filled with worry and fear. Dale wanted to scream, to wake up from this mess and go back to simple deliveries and quiet nights. But that life was gone the moment he opened the crate. Now he was involved, whether he liked it or not. Suddenly, the lights flickered, just for a second, but it was enough. Lyra stepped back, eyes wide. "They're trying to breach the system," she said. Dale rushed to the console, fingers flying over the controls. A foreign code was trying to access his navigation system. "They're hacking us," he muttered. The ship's defenses were weak. It was a cargo ship, not a military one. But he had some tricks left, old software he picked up during his smuggling days. He launched a signal blocker, buying a few minutes of safety. "Who are they?" Dale asked, breathing hard. "Syndicate," Lyra said. "They trade lives like coins." Dale cursed under his breath. He had heard of the Syndicate, but he thought they were just a story to scare rookies. Now they were real, and they were hunting him. He turned off all automated signals and switched to manual controls. They needed a place to hide, somewhere off the grid. He remembered an old mining station, abandoned after a fuel explosion. No one went there anymore. He set the course and prayed the engine would hold. Behind him, the younger girls stirred in their sleep, whimpering softly. Lyra turned to them, her face filled with quiet sadness. "They've never been free before," she said. "Not even once." Dale looked at them, then at her. "What about you?" he asked. "I was born free," she replied, "but that was taken from me." The ship jolted slightly as it entered a denser field of asteroid debris. Dale guided it carefully, avoiding chunks of rock. The tracking signal faded a little, but not enough. The enemy was still coming. Lyra touched her temple and frowned. "One of them," she whispered, "might already be here." Dale turned sharply. "What do you mean on this ship?" She nodded slowly, eyes scanning the corners of the cabin. "There was someone else in that crate," she said. "Someone hidden. Not one of us." Dale felt the back of his neck go cold. He had only seen 3 girls come out, but the crate had been large. He stood up and grabbed a scanner. "I'll check," he said, his voice low, as he moved toward the cargo bay again. The lights flickered once more, and in that flicker, for just half a second, he saw it. A shadow, tall and still, standing near the fuel pipes. Then it was gone. But he knew what he saw. He was no longer just running from the Syndicate. He was sharing his ship with someone or something that did not want to be found. The ship felt colder than before. Even though the temperature controls were stable, Dale moved slowly through the corridor, gripping the scanner in one hand and the light in the other. Each step echoed too loudly, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. He reached the cargo bay, and the scanner blinked softly, searching for heat signatures. For a moment, nothing showed. Then a second blip appeared, small, fast, and moving. It was not one of the girls. Dale's heart thudded in his chest. He didn't speak, didn't shout. He simply walked forward, every sense alert. He passed by crates, wires, hanging tools. Then something shifted in the shadows, too quiet, too smooth. He swung the light around, but the shape had vanished. Behind him, soft footsteps echoed. He turned fast, scanner raised. But no one was there. The screen blinked again, showing movement near the air ducts. He climbed onto a crate, pulled open the side panel of the duct. There was only darkness inside. But deep inside that dark metal tunnel, he heard breathing, slow and calm, not scared at all. Whoever was in there, they weren't hiding out of fear. Dale returned to the cockpit, locked the door behind him, and turned to Lyra. "There's someone else on this ship," he said quietly. Lyra nodded, her face calm but focused. "I felt them earlier," she replied, "but I wasn't sure." Dale looked over at the two younger girls, still asleep on the floor. He didn't want to wake them, not yet. Whatever this was, it wasn't just a stowaway. It felt like a hunter hiding among prey. He searched the ship's logs, but no extra weight had been registered. Then again, the crate's logs had also been wiped. Whoever sent the cargo had prepared for everything. Lyra walked to the control panel and touched it with her fingers. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, and Dale saw the screens shift like they responded to her touch. "You're not just a slave," Dale whispered. "I never was," she said softly. She brought up hidden readings, energy pulses, barely visible to normal sensors. They pointed toward the back of the ship, near the old power storage room, a place Dale hadn't entered in weeks. He looked at her, and she nodded. Together, they moved toward the back. The door opened with a soft hiss, and the smell of old metal and fuel greeted them. The room was dark. Wires hung from the ceiling. Lyra stepped inside first, silent and calm. Then she froze. Dale stepped beside her and saw him. In the far corner, crouched behind a dead engine coil, was a fourth figure, taller than the girls, thinner, with gray skin and glowing yellow eyes. He wasn't chained, wasn't injured. He just sat there, waiting. When he saw them, he didn't run or attack. He simply smiled. "You took something that wasn't yours," the figure said, his voice like smoke. Dale stepped forward, fists clenched. "And you hid yourself like a coward." The figure stood slowly, bones creaking like dry wood. "I was meant to ensure delivery," he said. "But now, plans must change." Lyra raised her hand and the lights flickered again. The figure winced but didn't fall. "You're one of them," he said to her. "The old kind." "I'm more than that," she replied. Suddenly, the ship shook violently. Something hit them from outside. Dale rushed to the controls, warning lights flashing. Another ship had locked onto them. They had no time left. He turned to Lyra, breath sharp and fast. "If we fight here, we die." She nodded and ran to the engine room, her bare feet making no sound. The gray figure stayed in the shadows, watching, smiling. Dale looked at him one last time. "If you try anything, I'll throw you out the airlock," he said. The figure laughed softly. "You'll need me soon enough," he whispered. Then he sat back down, calm as ever. Dale launched the ship into full thrust, flying low through an asteroid belt. Rocks passed close, scraping the sides. The second ship chased them, fast and powerful. Dale pushed the engine harder than ever before. He didn't know how long they could run. In the back of the ship, Lyra activated something hidden inside the walls, an old shield system. Her hands glowed as she touched the wires. Energy rippled around the ship just in time to block a missile blast. The younger girls woke up screaming. Dale shouted, "Hold on!" As the ship spun sideways, fire sparked in the corners, alarms screamed, and everything shook. They were no longer just carrying alien girls. They were carrying a secret someone would kill for, and that someone was already on board, asterisk. Smoke hadn't cleared, and yet the silence felt heavier than the blast. Dale leaned over the main console, blinking through the haze, his ears ringing. Everything around him buzzed and sparked, lights dimmed, and the ship swayed like a wounded animal. But that wasn't what made his skin crawl. It was the sound he didn't hear, the sound of footsteps. Lyra had disappeared. She was just there, working on the shield systems, and then gone. The two younger girls sat trembling, their hands over their ears, whispering in their alien tongue. Dale scanned the back of the ship on the cameras, nothing but static and shadows. The strange gray figure was no longer sitting in the engine room. Dale grabbed his emergency pistol, a model so old it clicked before it warmed up. He walked down the corridor, the red emergency lights blinking on and off like a heartbeat. The air was thick now, not with smoke, but tension. Something had changed, and he could feel it. A soft hum came from the floor beneath his feet, a pattern pulsing deep inside the ship, like someone had activated something ancient. He opened the lower hatch and stepped into the maintenance deck, a place even he hadn't visited in months. And there she was, Lyra, standing inside a circle of light, her eyes glowing bright blue. Lines of energy floated around her hands, moving like strings of light in water. She was touching the ship's old systems, not with wires or tools, but with her mind. The floor beneath her glowed, symbols slowly revealing themselves. Dale had never seen anything like it. What are you doing?" he whispered. Lyra turned her head slowly, her face calm but serious. "This ship was once more than just a freighter," she said. "It belonged to someone like me. Long ago." Dale frowned, stepping closer. "Like you? You mean alien?" She shook her head gently. "No," she said, "not just alien connected." The air shimmered around her as she spoke, and the old walls of the ship reacted, glowing faintly in response to her voice. Then she reached forward and pulled something from the control panel, a small cube, glowing green and warm. Dale had never seen it before, though it was inside his ship this whole time. "This is what they want," Lyra said, holding the cube carefully. "Not us, not just us, this." Before Dale could ask more, the sound of footsteps returned. This time louder. He turned fast, pistol raised. Out of the shadows stepped the gray figure, calm as always, eyes still shining with that unnatural yellow. He looked at the cube and smiled. "I was meant to take it back," the figure said. "But now you've made it easier for me." Lyra didn't flinch. She stepped back, cube still in her hands. "You can't have it," she said. Dale moved to block the path, heart pounding. But the figure didn't attack, not yet. Instead, he tilted his head, as if amused. "You think you can protect them, human?" he said quietly. "You don't even know what they are." Dale fired. But the blast passed through empty air. The figure had vanished again. Not teleported, just moved so fast it was like he blinked out. Lyra grabbed Dale's arm, pulling him up toward the cockpit. "We can't stop him here," she said. "He's not alone anymore." "What do you mean, not alone?" Dale asked, already dreading the answer. "The others," she said. "I can feel them waking up." She wasn't talking about the syndicate ships. She meant something already on board. Back in the cargo room, a soft crackling sound came from the walls. The pipes twisted ever so slightly, and a low growl echoed through the vents. One of the younger girls screamed, pointing at the wall. From behind the panel, two golden eyes stared back, blinking slowly. They had never been alone, not since the crate opened. Dale arrived just in time to see the panel burst open. A second creature, similar to the first gray figure but smaller, dropped into the room. The girl holding the injured pet grabbed her sister and ran. Dale fired again, this time hitting the creature's shoulder. Flesh burned, but it didn't scream. It just hissed, baring sharp teeth. Lyra stood behind him, her hand glowing again. She raised it and chanted something. Dale couldn't understand it, but the creature did. It stopped, turned to her slowly, and its eyes widened. "You," it whispered, then backed away, disappearing into the smoke. Dale looked at her, breathing hard. "What are you?" he asked. Lyra stared at the cube in her hand, then looked back at him. "Something I thought was lost," she said, "but now I must remember." Dale had picked up cargo, thinking it was just a job. Now his ship held not only refugees, but something ancient, something powerful, and something hunting them already inside. The cube in Lyra's hand pulsed like a heartbeat, each glow sending a soft wave through the floor beneath them. Dale had seen many strange things during his life in space pirates, plasma storms, even ghost signals from ships lost centuries ago, but he had never seen a person control a ship by touching the air. And he had never seen fear on the face of something that wasn't supposed to feel fear. That creature had looked at Lyra not with hunger, not with anger, but with recognition. Back in the engine room, the pipes continued to vibrate, slow and steady. Something was moving deep inside the ship, something old and quiet. The two younger alien girls stayed in the cockpit now, watching the door like scared animals. The smallest one clutched the wounded pet in her arms, while whispering softly to it. Her sister sat beside her, eyes wide and distant, as if seeing something Dale couldn't. Lyra stood still in the center of the room, her eyes half closed, her fingers glowing softly. She wasn't touching anything, yet the ship's lights responded to her breath. Dale didn't know what she was doing, but he didn't interrupt. He felt like he was in the middle of something ancient, something sacred. Not just a rescue mission anymore, but a path that had been hidden until now. Finally, Lyra opened her eyes, the glow fading. She turned to Dale and held out the cube. "This was hidden in your ship for a reason," she said. "Someone long ago knew it would be needed again." Dale looked at it, unsure whether to take it or run from it. "What is it?" he asked. Lyra looked down at it as if remembering a long-forgotten song. "It holds memory," she said. "Not mine. Not human. Older." Dale raised his eyebrows. "You mean like a computer?" Lyra shook her head. "No, not data," she said. "Stories, truths, power, but only to those who understand its language." Dale almost laughed but didn't. None of this made sense, and yet it felt real. The cube buzzed softly in her palm, and then, without warning, floated upward. It hovered in the air, spinning slowly, and images began to flash inside it, shapes, stars, symbols. Then it dropped back into her hand like a feather, before Dale could speak again. A voice crackled through the ship's comm system, a voice he hadn't heard since the start of the job. "Captain Dale Harper," the voice said, smooth and cold. "We know what you found." Dale moved to the console and opened the channel. "I'm not returning anything," he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. The voice chuckled. "You misunderstand," it replied. "We don't want you to return them. We want to collect what's inside them." The screen blinked on, showing a face, half covered by a mask, behind the figure. Dale could see rows of captured alien children, some unconscious, some crying. The man in the mask smiled again. "They're not just slaves," he said. "They're storage units, each one grown to hold ancient knowledge." Dale stepped back. Stunned, he looked at Lyra, whose hands had turned into fists. "You're lying," Dale said. But the masked man didn't argue. "Soon you'll see," he said. "When the data inside them begins to burn." The screen cut off, leaving only static. Dale turned to Lyra, who now looked paler than before. "What does he mean?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer at first. Then she whispered, "He's telling the truth." Dale felt like the floor had dropped under him. "You're not just people," he said slowly. "You're something else." Lyra nodded. "We were created to carry ancient memory," she said. "But we were never meant to be used like machines." She reached up and touched her temple, and for a moment, her veins glowed beneath her skin. "The cube woke up what I had forgotten," she continued, and soon. The others will remember too. As if on cue, the younger girl holding the pet gasped. Her eyes rolled back for a second, then snapped forward, glowing silver. Her sister screamed and held her tight, but the glow faded, leaving her shaking. It's starting, Lyra said quietly. Dale backed away, trying to understand. If what that masked man said was true, these girls weren't just victims, they were ticking time bombs of knowledge, and he was flying straight toward the center of the storm. He reached for the control panel and changed course again. Not to escape, but to reach the one place left where secrets like this might be safe. Lyra looked at him with both worry and hope in her eyes. You don't have to help us, she said. Dale didn't look at her when he answered, yes. He said, I do. And outside, in the darkness beyond the ship, 4 unknown vessels slowly lit up their engines. They were coming, not for the girls, but for what they carried. Asterisk, the stars outside blurred as the ship surged forward. But inside, the tension was sharper than ever. Dale gripped the controls, sweat beading on his forehead. Though the cabin was cold, behind him, the 3 alien girls sat silently, their eyes wide with fear and hope mixed together. Lyra's hands hovered over the control panel, fingers trembling as she tried to keep the ship steady. They were running from enemies who didn't just want them back, they wanted the secret buried deep inside their bodies and minds. Dale knew one wrong move could mean death for all of them. He glanced at Lyra, who met his gaze without blinking, determination burning in her glowing eyes. I can take us to a hidden place, she said softly. A planet no one visits anymore, forgotten by the stars. Dale nodded without hesitation. He needed time, safety, and a plan. They couldn't run forever, and fighting here meant certain death. As the ship changed course toward the hidden planet, the alarms blared suddenly. Red lights flashed as sensors picked up multiple ships warping into the system. Dale's heart raced, his hands tightening on the wheel. They found us, he said quietly. Lyra closed her eyes, breathing deeply, trying to calm her mind. The younger girls clung to each other, whispering prayers in their strange language. Dale realized this was more than a chase. This was a war, and they were caught right in the middle. The hidden planet appeared on the horizon. Small and dark, covered in dense forests and thick clouds. It was perfect for hiding, but landing there was risky. Dale guided the ship carefully through the atmosphere. The engines roared as they pierced the thick air. Finally, with a shaky landing, the ship touched down on a rocky clearing. The silence that followed was almost too loud. Dale switched off the engines, and the girls slowly began to breathe easier. But the danger was far from over. Lyra turned to him, eyes serious. They will come, she said, and they will not give up. Dale looked at the younger girls, their faces pale but brave. He felt a surge of protectiveness unlike anything before. I don't know what we're up against, he said, but I'm not leaving you here alone. They gathered what little supplies they could from the ship, moving cautiously through the thick forest. Every shadow seemed to watch them. Every rustle made their hearts jump. Lyra led the way, her steps sure despite the alien terrain. Dale followed, carrying the injured pet carefully. Hours passed like minutes as they searched for shelter. Finally, they found an old bunker, half buried under moss and vines. It was cold, dark, and smelled of forgotten days, but it was safe for now. Inside the bunker, Lyra began to work on the cube again, her fingers tracing the ancient symbols. Dale watched her, realizing this was no ordinary rescue mission anymore. They were guardians now, protectors of a secret that could change everything. Suddenly, the youngest girl gasped, her eyes glowing faintly. She's waking, Lyra said, voice tight with worry. Dale looked at the girl, who was trembling as if something inside her was fighting to break free. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying distant sounds, the sound of engines coming closer. The war was far from over, and their final choice was yet to come. The forest around them was quiet, almost too quiet. Dale's hands trembled as he checked the pistol again, then stuffed it back into his belt. The alien girls were gathered close, their faces pale but full of fierce determination. Lyra stood at the center, the glowing cube clutched tightly in her hands. They all knew what was coming. The ships that had chased them across the stars were now landing, and the final battle was about to begin. Dale looked up at the darkening sky, the first engines lighting the horizon like distant thunder. He swallowed hard but didn't show his fear. "Stay close," he whispered. Lyra nodded, eyes shining brighter than ever. "We can't let them take the cube," she said, voice steady. "They will kill us all if they do." Suddenly, the ground shook as heavy footsteps crashed through the underbrush. Figures appeared between the trees, soldiers, armed and moving. Fast, Dale fired his pistol, the shots echoing like thunder. The alien girls ran to cover, disappearing behind thick trunks and rocks. Lyra raised her hands, and the cube floated upward, spinning faster. Light exploded from it in waves, forming a shield that rippled through the trees. The soldiers paused, their weapons raised but hesitating. The forest around them seemed alive, energy crackling in the air. Dale joined Lyra, feeling the power hum beneath his feet. They were fighting for more than their lives now. They were fighting for the future, for freedom, for secrets lost in time. One soldier broke through the shield, charging forward. Lyra's eyes glowed fiercely as she moved faster than Dale had ever seen. She reached out and touched the man's chest. His body froze, then collapsed without a sound. But there were more, endless waves of them coming. Dale and the girls fought back, using every trick and every ounce of courage they had. The cube pulsed wildly, reacting to Lyra's emotions, growing stronger with every heartbeat. In the middle of the battle, Dale saw the gray figure step out from the shadows. He smiled cruelly, eyes glowing with malice. "You think you can win?" He sneered. Lyra met his gaze without fear. "This ends now," she said. She touched the cube once more, and a blast of energy shot forward. The gray figure screamed as the light engulfed him. He vanished, leaving only silence behind. The soldiers retreated, broken and afraid. Dale lowered his pistol, breathing hard but alive. The alien girls gathered around him, smiles breaking through their fear. Lyra looked at Dale, her voice soft. "We are free now," she said. Dale nodded, feeling something new inside him. Hope he hadn't known before. The stars shone bright above, promising new beginnings, and together they would face whatever came next.